Wake TF up. Welcome to the Sovereign Signal, the channel of sovereign fire. Section 1. A stage and the puppet's politics is sold as democracy, but the public is watching theater. Red versus blue. Labor versus conservative. Democrat versus Republican branding that keeps eyes on the wings while the body of the bird flies in one direction regardless. Parents are told, vote for change, urged to bring children into the ritual so they learn about their rights, yet what they are learning is managed consent. The set is familiar. Televised debates, party conferences, manifestos, slogans, attack ads, poll trackers, pundit panels. It looks like competition, but the field has constraints that remain fixed across cycles money gates entry. Media frames reality. Law sets narrow lanes. Bureaucracy absorbs and neutralizes shocks. The audience is coached to clap on cue. The wings flap left and right. The body continues forward, fed by a permanent machinery you are discouraged from seeing. The illusion of choice built on shared premises. Two wings are presented as opposites, but they share premises. Perpetual debt issuance, centralized monetary control, surveillance as public safety, austerity or stimulus aligned to creditor interests, militarized foreign policy framed as national security, corporate lobbying as normal stakeholder engagement, and public services restructured into outsourcing pipelines. Each party proclaims that its values differ, yet the machinery beneath their rhetoric markets shaped by regulatory favors, privatized profits with socialized losses, revolving doors between regulators and regulated does not meaningfully change hands. The bird's body holds steady. Donors and dynastic capital fund candidates across parties. Consultants recycle playbooks. Civil service machinery ensures continuity. Intelligence and security institutions define acceptable policy boundaries. Supranational agreements, trade, defense, financial regulation limit the scope of domestic deviation. Election cycles swap actors, not scripts. Choice is structured. Ballot access requires money and media oxygen. Media oxygen follows donor signals and institutional comfort. Viable candidates are those who reassure the permanent apparatus that disruption will be cosmetic. Fringe candidates are contained starved of airtime, framed as unserious or absorbed and neutralized via co-opted planks. When insurgent energy does arise, it is either demonized until exhausted or carefully integrated with symbolic concessions while core machinery stays untouched. The spectacle of contest energizes hope. The continuity of machinery protects the body. The ritual of voting as legitimacy transfer voting is framed as sacred, the essence of democracy. The ritual habituates participation cue, ballot, count, broadcast, acceptance speech. It feels like agency. But agency without leverage is theater. The ritual transfers legitimacy to the apparatus for another cycle. It renews the license of a system that keeps the same constraints, budgets, and operational alliances. The most repeated line, "If you don't vote, you can't complain," is a disciplined tactic. It converts the moral burden of systemic failure into individual participation duty. Meanwhile, the levers that determine outcomes between cycles are not on the ballot. Bond market reactions dictating fiscal policy. Ratings agencies disciplining governments. Central bank decisions affecting livelihoods. Procurement contracts shaping public services. Trade and defense compacts binding parliaments. Intelligence briefings defining realism. This is not an argument against casting ballots. It is an exposure of what ballots do in a theater. They consecrate continuity. They renew consent. They sanctify a narrow lane where debate is permitted so long as no one touches the power lines. Hope is ritualized. Disappointment is scheduled. Outrage is monetized. The body flies on. Puppets paraded as leaders. Candidates are presented as leaders with vision, but most operate as brokers. They broker between donors and voters, between permanent staff and party base, between media narratives and local grievances. Scripts are written by consultants and policy shops, funded by the same foundations and corporations that sponsor both wings, adjusted to polling segments derived from the same data brokers and research firms. Debate lines are A/B tested. Tough questions are negotiated into formats that minimize deviation. When scandals erupt, crisis communications follow rehearsed patterns. Admit limited fault, pivot to values, attack opponent hypocrisy, reset the narrative with a policy announcement. The performance matters more than the correction. The audience is brought back to the wings. The body remains unseen. Backhanders do not always look like envelopes. They look like sponsored research that becomes policy. Advisory positions after public service. Campaign bundlers rewarded with regulatory hearing access. Corporate members of citizen councils that draft proposals. Externalized costs shifted onto the public, while private gains are protected via legal carve-outs. Lawful capture is still capture. It eats away at sovereignty by turning public institutions into distribution mechanisms for private interests under democratic branding. Media scaffolding and manufactured frames media does not simply report. It shapes theater. It selects angles, sets issue agendas, defines electability, manufactures consent for interventions, and narrows ranges of acceptable opinion. Ownership concentration ensures continuity of frames. Advertising pressures select topics. Symbiosis with state and corporate PR pipelines supplies content. Public broadcasters present balance between wings, but rarely platform body-level critiques. Commercial media sells emotional highs and lows, converting politics into serialized drama. Story arcs matter more than institutional mapping. Villains and heroes swap per season. The machinery remains offstage. Fact-checking becomes a ritual of referee theater. It polices surface claims while leaving structural distortions intact. Non-partisan watchdogs assess promises within accepted economic models, never questioning who authored those models, who benefits from their assumptions, or how alternative models are systematically excluded. This creates a sense of diligent scrutiny that never touches the bird's body. Law, bureaucracy, and continuity protocols. Laws are passed, but continuity protocols statutes, committee procedures, budget baselines, civil service guidance cement the body's direction. Bureaucracy absorbs shock. It delays, dilutes, and diverts radical mandates through process. Agencies possess veto power via capacity constraints and risk assessments authored by career officials aligned to institutional preservation. Independent authorities, central banks, competition regulators, information commissioners operate with mandated independence that paradoxically removes core levers from democratic contest. Courts narrow or broaden rights according to precedents shaped by decades of elite litigation resources. Even when legislation purports change, implementing instruments, regulations, guidance, enforcement priorities can hollow it. This is how wings move without changing flight path. The body's organs law, bureaucracy, finance, media, security coordinate to maintain course. Elections affect tempo and tone. The trajectory persists. Money, the metronome behind the performance, campaign finance, and donor ecosystems define tempo. Small donations are celebrated as people power, while large donors and PACs buy strategic positioning. Agenda access, staffing influence, platform planks, veto power over unfriendly policy. Foundations and think tanks write white papers that become talking points. Corporate policy shops ghostwrite bills. Politicians are indebted in time, attention, and post-service prospects. Financial markets discipline governments. Bond spreads widen to punish budgets. Credit ratings threaten downgrades. Capital flight rumors enforce prudence. These levers are not on any ballot, yet they move ministers more than votes do once the theater closes. Public budgets are stories in numbers. They encode priorities masked by spin. Reform often means shifting public value streams to private operators through long contracts. Efficiency often means reducing frontline capacity while growing compliance overhead. Innovation often means adopting vendor solutions that lock institutions into dependence. Parties argue over visible line items, while hidden commitments, debt service, PFI contracts, subsidy schedules define reality. Security state boundaries, intelligence and security apparatuses define red lines. They brief incoming governments, outline threat landscapes, and set invisible tripwires. Policies that collide with entrenched security narratives meet resistance. Leaks, warnings to media allies, classified concerns. Bureaucratic go slows. Surveillance expansions often proceed under both wings, justified by new threats. Oversight mechanisms trail capabilities. Civil liberties shrink through temporary measures that become permanent. Foreign policy converges on alliance maintenance, military posture, arms industry health, and resource security. Party rhetoric differs. Expeditionary reality aligns. The body flies the same route through different speeches. Managed participation and the choreography of outraged citizens are given participation lanes, petitions, consultations, town halls, comment periods. These produce input that can be acknowledged without altering decisions. Protests are domesticated permitted routes, designated zones, engagement teams that collect sentiment. Outrage is a revenue stream for media and a mobilization tool for parties. It rarely results in structural change unless it threatens legitimacy at scale and for sustained periods. When outrage spikes, the apparatus offers concessions, inquiries that conclude with bureaucratic recommendations, resignations without machinery shifts, symbolic laws with narrow scope. Pressure dissipates, theater resumes. Social media amplifies feelings and fragments coalitions. Algorithmic feeds elevate performative conflict and reduce complex structural analysis to shareable slivers. AstroTurf campaigns mimic grassroots. Botnets and influence operations seed division. The public experiences politics as an endless fight among characters instead of an investigation into machinery. The wings devour attention. The body feeds uninterrupted. Generational conditioning and the inheritance of theater children inherit rituals. School mock elections. Media narratives about historic nights. Family debates that end at slogans. Civics curricula that emphasize voting and branches of government without teaching power mapping money flows, contract structures, regulatory capture, market discipline, security tripwires. University programs teach policy analysis inside accepted economic and legal frames. Dissenting frameworks are electives with low institutional backing. Graduates enter policy shops, media, and consultancies trained to polish wings, not dissect bodies. Elders recall cycles that felt different but ended the same. Despair becomes resignation. Resignation becomes tradition. Parents repeat, "Vote for change with sincerity." Children inherit staged hope and scheduled disappointment. The emotional economy of politics. Politics runs on emotion, fear, hope, pride, anger, resentment. Parties and media curate emotional arcs to keep engagement high and analysis low. Fear drives security acceptance. Hope drives turnout. Anger drives donations. Pride drives brand loyalty. The theater trains citizens to direct emotion at opponents, seldom at structures. Structural anger is dangerous. It demands maps and plans. The apparatus prefers fanhood over citizenship, performance over investigation. Emotional cycles calibrate to election calendars. Off-cycle analysis is starved of oxygen. The body thrives on emotional churn. It hates structural stillness where mapping can occur. Why the puppet theater persists? It persists because it is efficient for those who benefit and comforting for those who believe. It offers identity, community, and regular dopamine. It saves citizens from the burden of forming local, non-theatrical power co-ops. Mutual aid, parallel institutions, civic assemblies that aren't brand merchandise. It makes politics consumable, not buildable. Consumption creates customers. Building creates citizens. Customers renew subscriptions. Citizens revoke mandates. The apparatus prefers subscriptions. It also persists because many inside it mean well. Individual actors often believe they are helping. They work long hours to deliver incremental improvements. They accept constraints as realistic. Intentions soften critique. Citizens judge individuals instead of systems. Systems continue unharmed behind hardworking faces. Naming the body of the bird. To cut through theater, you name the body. Money systems. Debt, central banking, creditor discipline. Legal architectures. Corporate liability shields, contract regimes, trade commitments. Media frames. Ownership and advertising pressure, newsroom sourcing dependencies. Bureaucratic continuity. Mandated independence, removing levers from contest. Security narratives, threat frames authorizing surveillance in war. You track flows. Who funds whom? Which foundations write which policies? Which donors sit on which boards? Which lobbyists draft which bills? Which vendors lock which institutions into dependence? Which treaties bind which parliaments? Which agencies gate which data? You learn the boring details. Theater hates boredom because boredom reveals machinery. The way the wings keep you watching, the wings stay interesting. Culture wars, scandals, gaffes, viral moments, moral panics. They are diverting by design. Culture fights offer cheap identity. Structural fights demand labor and courage. Scandals sell. Procurement reform does not. Gaffes trend. Debt architecture does not. Viral moments provide a sense of impact without altering leverage. You are skilled at reacting. You are untrained at reorganizing. The bird prefers your reactions. It doesn't want you to build. What changes the flight path? The flight path changes when legitimacy collapses and parallel capacity rises. Collapse alone breeds chaos. Capacity alone gets absorbed. Together, they reroute power. Parallel capacity means citizens build local institutions, food networks, care cooperatives, community finance, independent media, legal defense, reducing dependence on the body's apparatus. Legitimacy collapse requires widespread recognition that theater is not democracy and an ethical refusal to sanctify it without structural concessions. Open budgets, donor transparency, binding anti-capture rules, decentralization of key levers, citizen assemblies with mandate, public oversight with teeth, demilitarization of protest policing, sunshine on contracts and procurement, strict cooling-off periods for revolving doors, independent audits published as citizen artifacts, not press releases. These are not slogans, they are mechanics. They target the body, not the wings. Direct answers to parents and children. Parents told, vote for change. Change exists, but not where you are directed to look. The ballot is a postcard. The machinery is a ledger. Teach children power mapping, not only party colors. Show them budgets, procurement trails, donor webs, treaty bindings. Train them to ask, who benefits if this passes? Who pays if this fails? Who wrote this? Who enforces it? Who cannot be fired? These questions turn theater into investigation. Investigation turns spectators into builders. Verdict without comfort. Politics is practiced as puppet theater. Wings flap, bodies never turn. Debates entertain, donors govern. News narrates, machinery persists. Votes renew legitimacy. Contracts continue. People feel represented. Interests remain represented. Generations are told they are free. Generations inherit constraints. The lie is elegant because it uses symbols of democracy to mask management of consent. It will continue until citizens stop confusing wings with birds and theater with power. The curtain has to be torn, not admired. The set has to be mapped, not celebrated. The actors have to be treated as personnel within a system, not saviors of a people. The bird's body must be named, audited, and starved of capture. Otherwise, we will clap at scripted crescendos while the course remains fixed. Wake TF up. Section 2. The hidden hand. The body of the bird. The wings flap for spectacle. But the body of the bird is where power lives. It is not elected, not debated, not televised. It is finance, lobbying, media, intelligence, dynasties, and supranational cages. These organs do not change with elections. They persist across generations. Parents are told democracy is choice. Children are taught it is freedom. Elders are told it is progress. The truth is venom. The body governs. The wings distract. Finance. The organ of obedience finance is the organ that dictates survival. Campaigns are funded by donors, corporations, dynastic families. Governments are disciplined by bond markets, ratings agencies, and central banks. Parents are told budgets protect families. Children are told debt builds opportunity. Elders are told pensions are secure. Generations are lied to. Finance governs the bird, not ballots. Bailouts protect shareholders, not workers. Subsidies entrench monopolies, not communities. Austerity punishes citizens, not creditors. Trigger point. Every bailout, every subsidy, every austerity cut is betrayal. Parents sacrifice wages, children inherit debt, elders die believing stability was real. Lobbying. The organ of lobbyists draft the laws. They shape regulations, whisper into ears, and ensure continuity. They are unelected, unaccountable, yet wield more power than voters. Parents are told politicians write laws. Children are taught civics that glorify parliaments. Generations are lied to. Laws are written in corporate offices, delivered through lobbyists, passed by puppets. Deregulation strips protections. Privatization sells sovereignty. Surveillance laws entrench control. Trigger point. Every law passed for the people that benefits corporations is betrayal. Parents believe opportunity is created. Children inherit exploitation. Elders defend illusions. Media. The organ of perception media frames reality. It tells parents who to trust, children who to admire, elders who to fear. Generations are lied to. Told media is watchdog when it is lapdog. Ownership is concentrated. Advertising dictates content. Intelligence agencies feed narratives. The body controls perception, ensuring wings flap within boundaries. Headlines promise historic change. In truth, continuity. Scandals distract from structural theft. Fact-checking polices surface claims, never systemic distortions. Trigger point. Every headline promising hope is betrayal. Parents believe, children inherit disappointment, elders defend illusions. Intelligence. The organ of secrecy intelligence agencies brief governments, define threats, set red lines. They ensure foreign policy continuity, surveillance expansion, militarization of dissent. Parents are told it protects them. Children are told it secures their future. Elders are told it defends freedom. Generations are lied to. Intelligence serves the body, not the people. Wars secure resources, not safety. Surveillance harvests obedience, not liberty. Secrecy hides betrayal, not necessity. Trigger point. Every war, every surveillance law, every secrecy clause is betrayal. Parents bury children. Children inherit trauma. Elders die believing sacrifice was noble. Supranational institutions. The organ of constraint trade agreements, defense pacts, financial treaties, all binding governments beyond ballots. Parents are told these agreements secure prosperity. Children are told they guarantee peace. Elders are told they stabilize economies. Generations are lied to. Sovereignty is surrendered to institutions no one votes for. Trade deals elevate corporate rights above citizen rights. Defense pacts commit nations to wars without consent. Financial treaties enforce austerity, regardless of promises. Trigger point. Every treaty signed without citizen mandate is betrayal. Parents are told it's progress. Children inherit debt. Elders defend illusions. Dynastic families, the organ of permanence. Behind corporations and donors are dynastic families, names that persist across centuries. They fund both wings, own media, control banks, shape culture. Parents are told merit rules. Children are told hard work pays. Elders are told fairness exists. Generations are lied to. Dynasties rule. Merit is theater. Foundations present charity, but fund influence. Universities present education, but train obedience. Cultural institutions present art, but launder legitimacy. Trigger point. Every dynasty that survives centuries is betrayal. Parents work. Children inherit debt. Elders defend illusions. Generational betrayal. The hidden hand sustains itself through generational lies. Parents are told, vote for change. Children are taught, this is freedom. Elders are told, this is progress. Each generation inherits theater, performs rituals, obeys scripts. Each generation believes the lie, defends the lie, sustains the lie. The body remains, wings flap, theater continues. Sovereignty is lost, obedience sustained, colonization complete. Trigger point. The generational lie is not just deception. It is betrayal. Parents sacrifice. Children inherit chains. Elders die believing they were free. The truth is venom. Democracy is theater. Politics is puppetry. Sovereignty is illusion. This is the Sovereign Signal. Support the mission. Like, share, subscribe. Wake TF up.